what do we learn about David's organization of Israel from the end of 1 Chronicles 27? This is the question we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of 1 Chronicles on walking through the Bible. Today we're going to be discussing 1 Chronicles chapter 27, verses 16 to 24. But before we do that, let's read the passage. If you have a Bible with him, turn to 1 Chronicles chapter 27, verse 16. But if you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So 1 Chronicles chapter 27, beginning at verse 16. Furthermore, over the tribes of Israel, the officer over the Reubenites was Eleazar, the son of Zichri. Over the Simeonites, Shephatiah, the son of Maacah. Over the Levites, Hashabiah, the son of Kemuel. Over the Aaronites, Zadok. Over Judah, Elihu, one of David's brothers. Over Issachar, Omri, the son of Michael. Over Zebulun, Ishmaiah, the son of Obadiah. Over Naphtali, Jeremoth, the son of Azriel. Over the children of Ephraim, Hoshea, the son of Azaziah. Over the half-tribe of Manasseh, Joel, the son of Pedaiah. Over the half-tribe of Manasseh in Gilead, Iddo, the son of Zechariah. Over Benjamin, Jaasiel, the son of Abner. Over Dan, Azarel, the son of Joram. These were the leaders of the tribes of Israel. But David did not take the number of those 20 years old and under, because the Lord had said he would multiply Israel like the stars of the heavens. Joab, the son of Zeruiah, began a census, but he did not finish, for wrath came upon Israel because of the census, nor was the number recorded in the account of the Chronicles of King David. And Asmaveth, the son of Adil, was over the king's treasuries, and Jehonathan, the son of Uzziah, was over the storehouses in the field, in the cities, in the villages, and in the fortresses. Ezra, the son of Chelub, was over those who did the work of the field for tilling the ground. And Shimei, the Ramathite, was over the vineyards. And Zabdi, the Shipmite, was over the produce of the vineyards for the supply of wine. Baal-Hanan, the Gederite, was over the olive trees and the sycamore trees that were in the lowlands, and Joash over the store of oil. And Shitrai, the Sharonite, was over the herds that fed in Sharon, and Shaphat, the son of Adlai, was over the herds that were in the valleys. Obil, the Ishmaelite, was over the camels. Jediah, the Meronothite, was over the donkeys, and Jaziz, the Hagarite, was over the flocks. All these were the officials over King David's property. Also, Jehonathan, David's uncle, was a counselor, a wise man, and a scribe. And Jael, the son of Hakmoni, was with the king's sons. Ahithophel was the king's counselor, and Hushai the Archite was the king's companion. And Ahithophel was Jehoiada the son. After Ahithophel was Jehoiada the son of Benaiah, then Abiathar, and the general of the king's army was Joab. In this lesson, we come to the close of the section of 1 Chronicles that began back in chapter 23, as it concerns David's organization of the temple worship and the nation as a whole. We've seen the organization of the priests and the Levites, as well as the administration of the state and the military. Now we come to the organization of each tribe in Israel. We can sometimes forget when speaking about Israel in the Old Testament that we're actually dealing with 12 tribes that are confederated as one nation. However, for most of their history up to the time of Saul, they hadn't had a central government. They existed as 12 tribes with God as their king, speaking through the priests and the judges he raised up. For each tribe had elders and judges that dealt with day-to-day issues, which meant that each tribe could deal with their own affairs. It also meant that sometimes along the way, when they needed to respond militarily, they had difficulty in getting some tribes to assist them, especially when it didn't affect that tribe directly. When Israel demanded a king, God anointed Saul, and although Israel was more united under Saul than they had been in the time of the judges, they still didn't entirely act as one nation. When David came to power, though, that changed. David was a man who had gained quite a following, especially militarily, before becoming king, unlike Saul, who was plucked from obscurity and had to gain a following as he went. David's following didn't simply come from Judah, though. It came from other tribes as well, which meant that once the civil war ended between the north and Judah that occurred after the death of Saul, David was able to unite the kingdom rather quickly. David had the respect of the north to be able to do this, and everybody was seemingly involved in his administration. How David united the kingdom, though, is by organizing it. David could have simply, as king, set up his friends to govern each tribe locally, with central authority coming from Jerusalem, but he didn't do that. Instead, he placed over them as officers most likely the oldest lineal descendant from each tribe. These would be in addition to the Hebronites that were appointed over the tribes at the end of chapter 26. That each tribe had officers under the king would ensure that each tribe had a seat at the table, as it were, and able to express their concerns to David, allowing David to get things done in an orderly fashion. These then were the leaders over the tribes of Israel. Verses 23 and 24 tells us that David did not take the number of those 20 years and over, for the Lord had said he would multiply Israel like the stars of the heavens. Now, at first glance, it might seem as if this contradicts chapter 21, where we learn that David did in fact take a census. But the chronicler immediately clears up any confusion by saying that Joab began the census, but didn't finish it, which we know from chapter 21, and the number that had been taken thus far wasn't recorded in the Chronicles of King David, though it is recorded for us in what we know as the book of Chronicles, which is a different book. The reason that the census wasn't finished is given that the Lord became angry over the census, which we also knew from chapter 21. From chapter 21, we also learned that Joab intentionally didn't finish the census because he knew that the census was wrong. So what the chronicler is telling us is that because the census wasn't completed, it could be said that David didn't number the people due to the fact that he didn't have a complete number. Once David understood God was angry with him, he repented of taking the census and trusted in God to do what God had said he would do, which was multiply the nation of Israel. This realization further cements our conclusion that the reason God was angry at the census was because of David's arrogance and lack of trust in God concerning the population of Israel. The chapter concludes by telling us of those placed in charge of the king's household. We had those appointed over his treasuries, over his storehouses, in the fields, cities, villages, and fortresses. We also had those in charge of tilling the ground and working the vineyards and the land that was the king's. And then we had those who were in charge of David's herds and flocks. Along with those positions were David's counselors. Of note among them is Ahithophel, the man we met back in 2 Samuel, who defected with Absalom and later killed himself when Absalom didn't take his advice. We have Eliab, given as Elihu in this chapter, David's oldest brother, and Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, whose name is inverted by a later copyist because Benaiah was the son of Jehoiada, not the other way around. Benaiah was in charge of David's bodyguards, an important position indeed. And then, of course, Joab was the head of the army, a position we have known all along. Thus, we come to the end of David's organization of the kingdom. The Lord willing, in the next lesson, we'll begin the final section of this book, the transition from David to Solomon. So we invite you back for those lessons. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of 1 Chronicles chapter 28, verses 1 to 10, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.